Alright guys, so this video comes from a bunch of questions I get all the time. And I know that anybody making gold refining or scrapping videos gets the exact same questions, so that's why I wanted to do that. Basically, a lot of the questions that I get is stuff like, they'll show me a camera, or a cell phone, sorry, and they'll say, is it worth scrapping this? Well, yes and no. And the reason I say it that way is, you know, if you ask anybody that has been doing this for any length of time, it's probably one of the most hardest questions to answer, because it's something that you're really going to have to find out for yourself. Let me give you a good example. Okay, inside this cell phone is going to be 2, maybe 3 boards, and they're really small. They're like this big, and now those boards are really nice. A lot of precious metal content on them for their size. But what we know from people who have refined, 50, 100, 1,000 cell phones, is there's about $4 worth of gold. Now it looks like there's a lot more, but from what we know, there's about $4 worth of gold in there. What's it going to take you to take apart? Well, I got pretty good at these at one point in time, and I could probably take this guy apart in a matter of 2 minutes, 3 minutes, if I had all my tools sitting here, Well, so if you want to take this apart, you're going to end up with a lithium battery, and that's going to go into your battery pile. Always make sure that you tape over the contacts on this so you can prevent fires. There was at least 5 fires here in Ohio. So I don't know what it's like across the U.S., but 5 fires just in Ohio from lithium batteries not having their contacts taped over, to block them. Alright, you're going to end up with some plastic. You're going to end up with maybe a gram of screws going to your steel bucket. You're going to end up with some gold-plated contacts. And then you're going to have your boards, which, here, I'll grab something. Now this is just a hard drive board. It comes out of one of the miniature hard drives. Now, it weighs almost nothing. But because of the precious metal content on these boards, it's valued at, I think, $8.50 a pound. At that rate, that means if you have a pound of these together, they probably hold somewhere close to $16, $18 worth of metal. That's more than gold, okay? Because when you send this in to be processed, the guy that's buying this board is also getting paid for any palladium, any silver, and any copper that's in this also. So they're not looking at just the gold content. They're looking at everything on the board. Everything on the board makes it worth about $16, $18 a pound. Um, so now let's go back to recoverable gold. Is there $4 of gold on one of these? Maybe. Maybe not. I know that cell phone boards, the average for cell phones is there's about $4 of gold in a cell phone. And that's probably a mixture of flip phones, Blackberries, Nokias, a little bit of everything. And we know that these go, and the cell phone boards themselves go for about $3.75 to $4 a pound. These go for about $8.50 a pound. These, the $3.75 a pound, okay, that price is because of what they're getting paid for the other metals also. The palladium, the silver, the copper. So it kind of, if you can kind of put that in perspective when you're looking at items to try and decide whether, okay, is it worth scrapping, is it not worth scrapping? In the beginning, when I started, I couldn't wait to get my hand on cell phones. Oh my gosh, I watched Chio's videos, how he was giving sand baths, and processing. There's a lot of work in these guys. It's not just open it up and you get your gold. There's a lot of work that goes into recovering the gold that's inside of here. So back to that question, is it worth it? The reason I'm doing this video is it's such a matter of the person themselves. Another way, let's see if I can help you understand why this is such a hard question to answer. So, a mechanic that's been working on cars for 25 years. Now, he has 25 years of experience behind him, and his value, as far as that, whatever company it is, his value is probably worth upwards of about $75 an hour. He'll come over and diagnose your car, and he'll dig in and start working on it. Well, actually, normally you take it to them, but his value to start working on that vehicle is $75 an hour. Now let's take another guy straight out of technician school. Company starts him at a lower rate. Okay, his value to the company is probably closer to the $20, $25 an hour. Now, you're probably going to be paying $75 an hour either way, whoever does the work. But as far as value goes, he's not worth that much because he doesn't have the experience. Yes, he has the schooling, but he doesn't have the experience to go behind that. Let's see, another item. Scrapping. When I first got into scrapping, I would grab every single CRT TV I could find. I'd pull the cheap boards out, I'd cut the insulated copper wire, I'd pull the degaussing wire off of it, then I'd pull the, I can't even think, the copper yolks off of them. Now, I did that for about a year, and then I started looking at what I was getting out of that TV. And my best guess is I was making about $5 off of every TV. That's counting everything that was in it and how I would get paid and the work I was putting into it. What I decided to do is I stopped picking TVs up. And the reason for that is I knew that the other guys that were out there on the street scrapping, my competitors, they were going to stop and pick that TV up. Well, when they stopped to pick that TV up, it would put me ahead in the ball game, and I'd be able to search more area. And I kind of got used to using that technique because a lot of the stuff that I would go out and scrap and look for is items that I could turn around and resell. So let's say you're driving down the road and you see I'd see a washer, but the top had been taken out. All the switches and stuff like that. Well, if I looked over and seen something like that, I would leave it, knowing that the guy behind me is going to pick it up. All right. And I'd continue on down the road. And what that would do is it would allow me to cover more ground and find more items. While he's picking up steel, I'm picking up other things that I can make money on. Now, microwaves, hey, I'm just like e-waste bin. Every microwave I see, I grab it. A lot of it, I haven't quite gotten into reselling the parts out of microwaves yet, but it is something that I'm looking into as far as the future goes. You guys know that I've done a lot of switching over here. It was all scrap in the beginning, and now I've switched over to, computers, servers, stuff like that. They're fun to play with. I love messing around with these, all of this new technology, but there's a learning curve that comes with it, A lot of the stuff that I'm doing today, the other guys won't do. I haven't quite figured out the secret. I went to an auction last month where I got all this stuff. You guys seen that video. And, normally when I'm at the auction, I look for $200, $300 pallets. That's what I can afford right now. But I started to study people, and see what they're buying. And there was a guy there, a couple guys, and they got into a bid war on this pallet. So it had 100 computers. And the bids went up to $10,000. I about fell over. It's one thing if there's one guy standing there ready to pay that for that skid of computers, but there was two guys. The pallet right after that, they both bid again, and it went right back up to $10,000. This time, the other guy got the pallet. So, and with that, I seen a lot of $5,000 pallets go. Now they're in a different league than I am, and I admit that. That doesn't, I don't envy them. I am planning on learning so I can figure out what the value of a lot of these items are so I can get up to that level. It may take me a few years, but kind of getting off track, ain't I? Basically, when you're trying to figure out the value of something, in the beginning, I used to rip everything apart. If it had a circuit board in it, I took it apart and I split it up, and I made a lot of, I had 25 different bins in my garage just for the computer scrapping. The other side of the garage, I had regular scrapping going on. And, what you find is that as you learn more and more, and you figure out what takes this amount of time to do compared to what takes this amount of time to do. Let me show you another thing. Okay, well, this will work. So let's call this a computer. Let's just say this is a regular motherboard. It's not. It's a came out of a server, but it basically the exact same thing on this that you'll find in a computer. It had the junk lithium battery. Make sure you always take those off, guys. When you're scrapping your computers out. It had a CPU on it. It had places for memory. And, these days, I don't remove anything off of motherboards. Well, probably shouldn't lie to you. I will take the little crystal are they oscillators? I don't know. On the back side of this, guys, ceramic, small little ceramic chip, and BGA chip. Now, I take these two off, but there's an issue with that, fellas. Once you remove those, you've devalued the board, okay? You can't remove those and expect the recycling center to pay you for that board full price. You just can't. You have removed part of the value. Now, will they buy the board? Yes. But expect a lower rate. And don't get mad at them. If you're taking these items off, you're taking them off because they have value. Okay, so once you remove that, you've removed that value from the board. So let's say the board was $3.50 a pound. You take these items off and it makes it a $2 board, or $2 a pound. That's the price you got to pay. If you're going to keep them items, then you have to realize that you're lowering the value of the board. Is it worth it? That's the one I'm trying to figure out right now. Is it worth it to pull these items, there's another one, off of this board and lower the value? Now, right now, I don't resell my boards. I've been keeping them all. I'm trying to get a load together to send it to a refiner myself. But, when I'm going through and I'm removing these items, am I hurting myself? Hey, I don't know. I really don't know. Because I got to collect this gold now while I'm still waiting for the board. So that's kind of a help, if that makes sense to you. Of course, I haven't refined all summer because I've been working on this business and trying to get it off the ground. So, we'll go back to the cell phone, guys. Is it worth scrapping? If you have the time, and it's not cutting into other money to take this apart, then it's worth it, right? But if you sitting down with 10 cell phones, which is roughly 40 bucks, if that prevents you from going out and finding 50 bucks, 60, 80, 100, maybe you should be working on something else right now. It's an important lesson I learned this month, or actually over the last few months. Just because you're working harder, it doesn't mean you're making forward progress. So, well, guys, I hope this video makes sense to you. Kind of me just sitting back and rambling. I just after getting those questions, I thought it would help you guys to understand when you ask, is it worth it to scrap this? Is it worth it to scrap that? Is this worth gold refining? Honestly, it's a really hard question to answer because it's really up to the individual as to whether that's worth it or not. So I've got some ideas for videos coming up. I don't know when they're going to be out. I don't know when I'll be able to do them. As far as me going full time in this, I still don't even know when that's going to happen. You know, there's a few items I'm still waiting for it to come about, and when that happens, then I can. But until that happens, it makes no sense for me to leave my current employment. So you guys have a great weekend, what's left of it, a few hours, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully I can get another video up. Mike's out.